TriMet, the local Metropolitan Mass Transit City of Portland-owned streetcar and light rail company, has recently come under fire for hiring an additional 9 fare enforcement officers in addition to the 60 they have currently working for them. Hundreds to thousands of people on Twitter are acting like the sky is falling, and the Pacific Northwest Liberation Front, a local Antifa-adjacent organization, tweeted, quote, "We are calling for all Portlanders who ride the MAX trains to boycott paying fares in response to TriMet's new racist, classist, and hostile policies." TriMet's goal with this expansion is to be more vigilant at ensuring that commuters actually bought a ticket and also to reduce the reliance on Portland police officers' assistance when people are caught riding for free. "I ride TriMet 7 days a week," one Twitter user wrote. "I can state without a doubt the most frustrating thing I have experienced is fare inspectors harassing people of color and unhoused folks. I mind my own business regarding fares, which should be free anyway. I suggest the nosy Nellies do the same." And "I have never once noticed or cared whether someone paid for their fare, but I do notice and care when I see people being harassed by the fare inspectors," another person wrote. Fare evasion is not a crime. Rather, it is treated as a citation. TriMet has an estimated fare evasion rate of 18%, which Roberta Alstott, TriMet's communication manager, said is significantly above the national average. She disputes advocates' claims that riders who don't pay are financially unable to do so. She says the number one reason people evade fare is they're taking a chance they won't get caught.
No ticket.
And more fare enforcement will make their odds worse. Roberta Alstott also said a free system is not that easily done, as we do not currently have a funding source that would replace our current revenue stream from fares. TriMet also has 25,000 people currently enrolled in their new low-income fare program, which offers $2.50 fares, which are half the cost of the full adult fare, which is currently $5. TriMet has also reduced the cost of their fine for fare evasion in recent years. So to me, the accusation that TriMet's policy of hiring an additional 9 fare enforcement officers is classist is just flatly absurd. If TriMet only wished for people of certain classes, say middle class and above, to be riding their trains and buses, they wouldn't offer anyone making less than $25,000 a year in household income a deal on ticket prices. At this low-income fare rate, a person riding every day, as much as they wish, would only be paying a total of $912.50 a year. Compared to the cost of car payments, gasoline, maintenance, and insurance on a car, that's a hell of a deal. The accusation that their policy is somehow racist makes even less sense, unless leftists are assuming that policies cracking down on theft are inherently targeting certain racial groups just so that those groups can be disadvantaged. What a revealing glimpse into the associations the minds of leftists reflexively make. This notion is also completely nonsensical when you look at the numbers. There's over 14 times as many white people under the poverty line than there are black people under the poverty line in Oregon. If the idea is that people too poor to pay for tickets are going to be inconvenienced the most by greater fare enforcement efforts, then it's not going to be black people primarily affected by this policy. TriMet's annual budget for fiscal year 2018 was over $500 million. They are funded in the following ways. 60% of their revenue comes from a district-wide payroll tax, which is paid by employers rather than employees in the area. 16% of their revenue comes from passenger fares, and 19% of their revenue comes from federal and state funds. So taxpayers and businesses are already picking up 84%, or $441 million a year for Portland's public transportation, regardless of whether or not they actually use it. And leftists are demanding that the people that are actually using it not even be forced to pay as little as $2.50. And God forbid we ever actually kick anyone off a MAX train or a bus for misbehaving. Just this year, Jared Walter, otherwise known as the TriMet Barber, was finally permanently banned from TriMet after dozens of instances of cutting, masturbating into, or gluing women's hair on public transit, going back as far as 2009. There was a stabbing and a fight between at least two men on a TriMet bus in February 8th this year. And a woman was beaten with a skateboard for asking a man cursing out a bus driver to stop cursing at him. Not to mention the homeless people riding public transportation daily, some taking the opportunity to panhandle a captive audience with no police or TriMet staff around. I mean, I haven't seen the race card played this hard about trains since the Underground Railroad. No, but seriously, it reminds me of back in 2017 when BART, California's Bay Area heavy rail public transportation system, refused to release the surveillance videos of numerous incidents of robberies and assaults on their trains to not, quote, unfairly affect and characterize riders of color, leading to sweeping generalizations in media reports. And they added that to release these videos would create a high level of racially insensitive commentary towards the district. And in addition, it would create a racial bias in the riders against minorities on the trains, unquote. Right, because surely this would be the first time white Americans would have ever heard of a series of crimes committed predominantly by black youths. Clearly, there's absolutely zero possible rationale that having some notion of how dangerous an area's public transportation is just might be in the public interest. In a country where black people assault white people 2 to 3 times as often as white people assault black people, why would we ever actually publicly acknowledge this fact and maybe, add some additional guards in vulnerable areas? Nah, that's a silly idea. Just be grateful that your betters running things allow you so many opportunities to move out of your comfort zone, be culturally enriched, and share your wealth with the less fortunate. I actually personally got mugged by a black teenager a few years ago on the platform at the 12th Street BART station in Oakland, California. Luckily for me, I had been playing paintball that morning and had been drinking heavily at a party right before my mugging, so I was in what you could call an aggressive state. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have handled the situation the way I did. This little Oakland hood rat snatched my phone, ran off, I chased him, he dropped the phone, and tried unsuccessfully to kick me in the face when I grabbed it off the ground. Then I turned around and got on my train. He and his buddies then followed me into my train car and got in my face and yelled at me, trying to goad me into fighting them collectively. But I just walked into a different train car. After I arrived at my destination, I found the nearest BART employee and informed him what happened, but he didn't even call it in. And I know you can't take anything on Twitter too seriously, so this outrage and proposed boycott of paying for TriMet fares probably won't actually result in anything, but my God, what kind of virtue signaling, unconsciously racist but acting like you care about minorities idiot do you have to be to say that the policy of enforcing the need to buy a ticket to take a ride is racist? This reminds me so much of the video by Amy Horowitz called How White Liberals Really View Black Voters. First, he asked college students at UC Berkeley if voter ID laws are racist, which they all said yes to. Then he went to the streets of East Harlem and just asked random black people on the street if they had ID. And the most common responses he got were, why the hell would they think I wouldn't have an ID? Like, as if black people don't drive, fly, or get carded for cigarettes and alcohol on a daily basis. I would argue that this sort of not even somewhat thought through reflexive low expectations of people for their skin tone is the quintessence of racism. And we just know, because of a survey TriMet conducted on all the riders they caught without having paid for a ticket in 2019, that only 2% of them said they just couldn't afford a ticket. Assuming that 2% just weren't lying, that means that 98% of people breaking this rule and risking being fined or temporarily banned was a choice. This idea that the leftists in Portland have that every time the taxpayers decline to pay for 100% of the cost of someone else's freely chosen use of goods or services is somehow equivalent to a civil rights violation makes me want to puke. That is not the future Martin Luther King had a dream about. That's his nightmare.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows.
Hi guys, Media Shadow here. I'm trying to grow the channel and hopefully get more than one video out a week. So if you like what you've seen, please give me a like, subscribe, share, or drop me some coin on Patreon. I've left a link in the description of the video. Thanks!